Welcome to Unbelievable Stories. Today's story is full of shocking twists and real drama. Subscribe and like to stay updated. Let's dive in. Have you ever felt an icy shift in your home? A change so sharp it makes you question everything you thought was certain? That's what happened to me when the warmth of her hugs and kisses suddenly disappeared. Day by day, I watched as the trust we had built over the years quietly eroded under the weight of her hidden truths. As I uncovered more of the betrayal, a mixture of hurt and the desire for revenge took hold. Still, even in the middle of it all, a small part of meth part that might have still cared feels a bit of remorse for what I did. Here's my story. My wife of 20 years chose to have a year-long secret love story with someone she worked with who was 15 years younger than her. To catch her in the act, I pretended I was doing the same thing while I was secretly gathering proof of her affair. For most of 2021, I decided to get a divorce in early summer and put together all the proof I had found by late September. I sent binders full of this evidence to all her close friends and family to arrive right before Christmas. I left one of those binders with a note about the divorce on my pillow next to my phone and my lawyer's card while she was sleeping on Christmas Eve. Then I disappeared from her life as everything started falling apart for her after Christmas. It was really hard, believe me, waiting quietly for almost a whole year, keeping to my plan. There were so many times I just wanted to shout it all out. It might have been healthier to do just that, but I needed to make sure it left a mark. It had to hit hard. A tiny part of me, the small piece that might still have feelings for her, feels bad about what I did, but it's a very tiny part. It's not keeping me up at night. Hope you're ready for a long story because this tale goes from the end of 2021 to just last week. To follow the rules, I've changed all the names in this story. Here's the start of it. My wife Sophia and I were high school sweethearts, starting to date in 1995 when we were both 17. We're both 42 now, and we've been together ever since. She's the only woman I've ever been with. We got married 5 years later at 22, right after college. A year after that, we welcomed the first of our two sons, now 22 and 17. I spent 20 years with her, built a house for her, worked really hard to give her the life she wanted. Yes, we hit some rough patches, but doesn't every marriage? Even in the hardest times, we somehow made it through and came out stronger. That's why finding out she was having an affair was such a shock. Let's go back to March 2021, when I first felt something was off. For the 2 months before, things between us were not great. After I hurt my knee really bad at work in late 2021, it was a big injury to my knee ligament. I was in a tough spot. I could only move my knee a little bit, around 55. It made things at home hard. I was getting money since I was hurt at work but couldn't do my usual chores at home, so a lot piled up. My sons helped with what they could, but some stuff only I or my wife could do, and with me down, she had to pick up my slack, which she didn't like. Even our time as a couple was not the same. It went from slow to none because of how I was during those months. My wife, let's call her Jessica, started to hang out more after work with her mates. It happened a lot from December 2021 to March 2021. I didn't think much of it. We've been together 20 years and I've never had to worry. We both had our friends and it was cool. But come January, I felt something was off. Jessica was more cold to me. Even though we were having a hard time, she never used to cut me off like this. She stopped being warm, no more hugs or kisses. Before, she was always on her phone but shared everything with me, cool finds on the web, laughs. Now she kept her phone close and got mad easily. By March, the city was in lockdown. Our jobs were still on because they were seen as key jobs, so we didn't stay at home for work. During this time, Jessica was gone a lot with work friends, more than usual. At first, I was okay with it because we always trusted each other. Then in January, things felt strange. Jessica wasn't warm anymore, no more little signs of love. She always had her phone, which wasn't new, but now she hid it from me. She got short with me like talking was a bother. So now it's March, and the whole city's in lockdown. We're still going to our jobs because they're important ones. After being told I could go back to work after 5 long months at home because of my knee injury, I was more than ready to dive back in. Being stuck at home, unable to do much, really got to me. I love staying active, practicing martial arts, hitting the gym 4 days a week, and working on various projects around the house. So when my work gave me the green light, I was pumped to get moving again. Just a short while into the global lockdown, my wife, whom I'm now splitting from, said she had to work extra hours. At first, I didn't think much of it. Considering her job, I figured she'd be busy a couple of days here and there, but then it turned into every single day, coming home 3 or more hours late, heading straight for a shower, spending a little bit of time with me and our 17-year-old kid. Our 22-year-old lives across town with his girlfriend. Before calling it a night. Eventually, as I got better at moving around on my knee, we started being close again, but something was off. She seemed distant, not really there with me. By the time April rolled around, things were starting to add up and not in a good way. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was seeing someone else. All the signs were there. That's when I hit the internet looking for what to watch out for if your partner might be cheating. And there it was, everything I was seeing from her was listed. Next, I needed proof. I went through her Facebook, scanning posts and photos from the past few months. There were the usual shots of us and our boys, her outings with friends, and then something caught my eye. There were quite a few photos of her with coworkers, including some folks I didn't recognize. But one guy kept showing up over and over, always too close for comfort, his arm around her or his hand on her lower back. I couldn't ignore it anymore. The more I looked, the clearer it became. The late nights, the distance, the strange guy always too close in photos. I was starting to see the full picture, and it wasn't one I wanted to be in. Way too close for comfort with a guy I had never met. That really left a bad taste in my mouth. But that was just the start of it. Oh no, the real kicker was finding out that this guy was a friend of hers on Facebook and also followed her on Instagram. So I tried to look this guy up on Facebook, and what do I find? I'm blocked. Why on earth can I not see this guy's Facebook, but he's friends with her? That set off all my alarm bells. Suddenly, I felt like I was in detective mode. I wasn't in denial anymore. I was pretty sure she was seeing this guy behind my back. My goal now was to uncover how long this had been going on. And that's what I did over the next 2 months. You wouldn't believe the kind of stuff you can find out from phone, text, and email records until you start looking. We shared a family plan for our phones, and I found a lot of interesting data. The 2 numbers she had been calling and texting the most from December 2021 to June 2021 were mine and one I didn't recognize. Guess who the unknown number belonged to? A quick Google search confirmed it was that same guy who had blocked me on Facebook. Let's just call him the jerk because that fits. Things started to make more sense now, but a lot of their messages and texts were missing, which meant she was deleting a lot of them. I knew she was seeing this guy, but I didn't have concrete proof. I needed more. That's when I talked to my best buddy Ethan about what was going on. He asked if I had confronted her with what I knew, and I said no because I didn't have enough evidence. He then tells me about this app that could let me spy on her messages in real time. I won't say the name because I'm not sure if that's allowed here. I got it installed, connected it to our data plan, and waited. A few days later, I finally saw it. The story doesn't end here, rather, it unfolds further, diving deep into the sea of technology and betrayal. The evidence was right there on my screen, clearer than daylight: messages, calls, plans. They were all laid out. Every ounce of trust and love built over the years crumbled in moments. I was torn between confrontation and disbelief. Weeks turned into a blur as I wrestled with the truth in front of me. Yet this revelation was a bitter pill that offered clarity. It was a hard lesson on trust and the shadows cast by doubt. In the end, the evidence I gathered served as the undeniable truth that would steer the course of my next actions. It wasn't just about catching her in the act, it was about coming to terms with the reality of our broken relationship. The journey from suspicion to confirmation was long and painful, but it led me to a crossroad between holding on and letting go. The chat between them talked about how much fun they had last night, and making plans to meet up again that weekend. That hit me like a ton of bricks. I was more than just hurt, I was shattered. That day felt like day for me, and for the next couple of days, I was just a wreck. I kept my distance from her right after that day, and she could tell something was off. She tried to make things better, asking what was wrong, but I just couldn't deal with her. I couldn't even look her way. This woman who I spent 20 long years with, I did everything for her as a husband, and yet she chose to go behind my back with someone much younger. By day 3, my sadness turned into anger. I got in touch with Ethan to tell him my fears were true, and when he asked if I had talked to her about it, I said no. I told him I wanted revenge. I didn't just want to leave her, I wanted to make her regret everything, to tear her world apart. This was going to take a while, but I had a plan. There was this quote I found about cheating, saying its biggest threat was being unpredictable. That was my angle. I would turn her life into a nightmare while also planning my way out quietly. Now in early August, I still have the app. Every night I was collecting their chats. They were talking as if they were truly together, sexting, sweet nothings, even nudes. They were doing it all. By then, I couldn't even bear to look, but I kept saving everything on my private server. Meanwhile, I started acting out of the norm. I went out at random times, coming home later than her. I wanted to make her feel uneasy, guessing at my next move. While doing all this, I was also preparing to leave her for good. I would make sure she would feel the loss as much as I felt betrayed. This was more than just walking away, it was about leaving a mark that she'd remember forever. Every time she's nearby, I find myself glued to my phone way more than usual. If she asks what I'm doing, I shrug it off with just stuff and hide my phone away. Since we got married, we never kept secrets. But then around the time I think she started her affair, she changed all her passwords, even on Facebook and her phone. She said it was because of security issues. Yeah, right, more like a good way to keep her affair hidden from her husband. I let my buddy Ethan know about what I was planning. I also told my older sister and 2 closest friends. I trust them more than anyone. A little side note, Ethan and I go way back to our childhood days, and the others, Oliver and Isabella, have been in our circle since high school. Remember Isabella, she'll pop up again later. When September rolls around, my soon-to-be ex is acting all worried. She's always texting or calling, asking if he'll be home when she gets there, wondering where I am when she's home alone, always curious about what I'm up to. It looks like the doubt I planted in her mind is growing. She's even talking to her cheating buddy the jerk, about how she thinks I'm the one pulling away. I mean, the nerve of her. During one of their chats, she even says they should stop meeting up at our place because she's scared I might catch them. Yep, she's been bringing this jerk into our home. Thanks, Jessica. The jerk even asked her if she was worried I might be cheating. That made her mad. You wouldn't believe how much I enjoyed that, my cheating wife mad at the idea of me cheating. So there I was, getting a kick out of this mess. My friends knew my plan, but we all kept it under wraps, especially from my wife. It's funny how secrets and doubts can twist up a situation, making even the guilty ones feel guilty. And through all of this, my close-knit group of friends, Ethan, Isabella, my sister, and Oliver, they were my rock, keeping me grounded as my world turned upside down. So picture this, I'm not seeing anyone else. Most times when I head out, I'm either at Ethan's or Oliver's, just chilling, watching fights, and hanging out with my pals, or I'm over at my big sister's place, spending time with her and her husband, who's pretty much like an older bro to me. My sister is 51, and her man is 57. She had spilled the beans to him about my soon-to-be ex's cheating but not about my plan. Had to keep it hush-hush since he's known to talk too much. Now let's jump ahead to September. That's when things start to really shake. By this time, I'd been pretending to have an affair for 3 months, and Jessica is super suspicious that I'm drifting away. It's been from day 1 of my plan to September 20th, 2021, that I hadn't touched her, no hugs, no kisses, no sign of love, nothing. Not that she was missing it, since she was still meeting up with that other guy, either at his place or motels. So on that day, she calls me at work, which used to be common but hadn't happened in ages, and asks me to come home right after work because she has something important to share. Honestly, part of me thought she might finally admit to her cheating, but of course she didn't. I get home, and she's all worried, asking me if I'm unhappy. The nerve, really. She noticed I've been away a lot, not showing her any love, and that our bedroom life is dead. She even says she's worried I'm pulling away because I'm still upset about how she acted when I was fixing my knee. And then the shocker, she actually asks if I'm cheating on her. I just lost it, laughing so hard on the floor. To her, it might have looked like I was laughing off the idea of me being unfaithful, but really, I was laughing at the total irony of the moment. Imagine the scene: me, not involved with anyone. Most evenings, you'd find me either at Ethan's or Oliver's, sipping drinks, watching fights, and just hanging with friends, or I would be at my elder sister's home, enjoying time with her and my brother-in-law, who's more or less another big brother to me. My sister's 51, her husband's 57. She'd shared with him about my soon-to-be ex's cheating but kept my schemes secret due to his tendency to spill the beans. Fast forward to September, that's when everything really starts to get interesting. At this point, I've been playing away for 3 months, and Jessica is very much aware I'm moving away from her. It's been since the start of my plan to September 20th, 2021, since I would last shown her any affection. No hugs, no kisses, nothing. Not that she was lacking any. She still saw that jerk either at his spot or at motels. Then on that day, she rings me at work, something that hadn't happened in a long while, asking me to rush home after because she had something important to reveal. Part of me half expected her to confess to her affair, but that wasn't it. I get home, and she's all serious, quizzing me if I'm unhappy with us. The gall of it. She points out my time spent away, the lack of affection, and our dead bed life. She even wonders aloud if I'm acting distant because I'm sore over her past coldness during my knee rehab. And then the climax: she asks straight up if I'm cheating on her. I couldn't help it. I burst into laughter right there on the floor. To her, it might have seemed like I was laughing off her suspicion, but really, I was howling at the sheer irony unfolding before me. I burst into tears, slamming my fists on the ground, lost in a wild fit of sadness for a couple of minutes until I could get a grip on myself. For the first time in ages, I locked eyes with her, shaking my head without saying a word. I got up, dusted myself off, planted a kiss on her forehead, and started getting ready for bed. That night, while in my study, curiosity got the best of me. Thinking about the day's events, I decided to check her messages, and there it was. She was chatting with him right there and then. She told the guy, "Let's call him Jerk, I think he's seeing someone else." I asked him tonight, and he just laughed in my face, like he hit the floor laughing for what felt like forever. He definitely doesn't care about how I feel. I don't get it, but I feel him slipping away. It's like this is my bad karma. The grin on my face as I read that was probably huge. She was becoming undone. The jerk tried to make her feel better, saying if I really cared, she wouldn't have turned to him for what I wasn't providing her. But I could tell by how she replied she was starting to second-guess herself. She dared to cheat on me while I was down because of a real health setback and kept it up for almost a full year. And now the thought of losing me to someone else suddenly made her unsure. What a joke. Meanwhile, I was moving ahead with my own plan for revenge, getting all my money matters sorted out. By September, I had talked to a family lawyer to start the process for divorce. Armed with all the evidence I had collected on Jessica's cheating, San Francisco makes you prove fault in divorce, and with all I had on her affair, I was set to really make her regret it in court. My lawyer told me to get all my money stuff sorted because we might have to split things up soon. I went a step further. I took all our shared money and moved it to my own account. I also started looking for a new place to live as part of my next steps. Now it's September, and I'm not stopping. In fact, I'm doing more. This is where my buddy Isabella comes in. To give you some background, Isabella and Jessica have never really got on. I met Isabella when we were both in the first year of high school, 2 years before I met Jessica. Right from the start, Jessica seemed to think Isabella was some sort of threat because she's my closest girlfriend. Jessica never said it out loud, but you can just tell. And Isabella, she's not exactly Jessica's biggest fan either. When Jessica and I started dating, Isabella pointed out how Jessica was always trying to hang out with my friends, but I never did that with Jessica's friends. Isabella didn't like that because she thought Jessica was trying to push her out. Among Jessica's friends there aren't any guys, just like Isabella is the only girl in my group of friends. Isabella had been stuck abroad because of the pandemic and got back to San Francisco City on September 3rd. Me and my friends, Ethan and Oliver, thought we'd have a small get-together to welcome her back. Just us, Oliver's wife, who is also Isabella's sister, Isabella, and me. We kept it small, just 5 of us, following health rules because we're really careful about the virus. Isabella, who likes to cause a bit of trouble, had a cheeky idea to stir things up with Jessica. She thought we should take some photos that look like the ones I found of Jessica and some guy a while back and post them on my Facebook. So that's what we did. It took a couple of days before Jessica saw the photos, as I guess some of our friends saw them and thought I looked way too close to Isabella. This really messed with her head since she continued to feel that I was cheating on her. I can almost promise that she wanted to accuse Isabella of cheating, but she was aware that Isabella had been unable to leave Europe for most of the year. However, this did not prevent her from attempting to dress me down that evening because she was so handsy in the pictures. The opportunity to deliver the lead jab for my knockout strike was a fantastic opportunity for me, and I took advantage of it. "What about the pictures that were taken with you and Jerk from the previous year?" I asked. "He had a good deal of dexterity in them. On the other hand, did you see me getting absolutely worked up over it? In the headlights, my dear, throughout the entirety of this, it was the very first time that I had ever uttered the individual's name. During the time that she was attempting to explain away those pictures, the hamster wheel that was spinning in her thoughts began to spin in real time. Even up to that moment, she had no idea that I had seen them. That's how seldom I use Facebook. The fact that the pictures I took with Isabella in particular gained a lot of attention among our respective circles is due to the fact that when I rarely upload something, it is like an event to others. And she did try to explain it away. "He's that way with everyone, he's just a really friendly guy. I can see how it looks, but there's nothing there. I'm sorry if those pictures caused you any pain. I'm going to remove them." "Not at all, it's not the pictures that are hurting me. What has caused me the most pain is the fact that you have been seeing the guy for an entire year while simultaneously lying to me about working additional hours and hanging out with friends." The famous quote attributed to Lieutenant Commander Worf from Star Trek The Next Generation states that vengeance is a dish best served cold. Since that night, Jessica has been acting in a manner that is very possessive and attentive to me, like in a very annoying way. Whenever she made an attempt to initiate affection and closeness with me, I would stand in her way and refuse to get involved. I am continuing to record everything that she is saying to Jerk throughout this entire process. Please keep in mind that by this point, I had already become numb. My marriage was on the verge of dissolution, and I had no desire to save it. On the day that I put the first element of my plan into action, I had checked out. She has confided in him that I have become even more difficult. The fact that she is at a loss for what to do and that she has the impression that I despise her completely. Yes, I am. Then comes the shocking revelation. She told him she couldn't see him anymore. She felt too guilty and like bad luck was all over her. She didn't want to lose me. She said she loved him a lot, but she was still in love with me and had to save our marriage before it was too late for us. But in my mind, she was already too late by about 8 months. He got very upset, telling her things like he doesn't love you like I do and you're making a big mistake, you can't just toss me aside. Those were the last words they shared until about 3 weeks ago. Through December and December, Jessica was stuck trying to figure out what was going on in my mind and if I was being untrue, all while he kept sending her messages non-stop, but she never replied. I saw her look at her phone a lot, and then quickly put it away. Meanwhile, I was moving forward with my plan. The divorce was ready. I had gotten myself a small place in Greenfield, San Francisco's would know it, and signed up to live there for 2 years. All my money was safe in my own account. I was ready for my big move. Now it was Christmas. My eldest and his girlfriend were having a small dinner for our close family. It was them, her parents since she's an only child, me, Jessica, and our youngest. We all had a great time. My son's girlfriend is learning to be a cook, and she made the whole meal. She's really good at it, let me tell you. Because I had to act like everything was fine between Jessica and me, I showed her some affection that night. Quick kisses, small hugs, and putting my arms around her. She seemed to really like it. Remember, this was the first time I had really touched her since the night she talked to me in September, nearly 2 months before. I won't lie, I didn't want to do it, but I had to. So there we were at Christmas, trying to act normal. My oldest and his girl put on a great dinner for all of us, just our close family. She's got cooking skills that are out of this world. Even though it felt weird, I made sure to be warm with Jessica to keep everyone thinking things were okay between us. Those little moments of closeness were probably a big deal for her after everything, but for me, they were tough. Yet it was all part of the plan I had to stick to. I was unable to take the risk of the plan and the fact that I was remaining away from her in front of my boys, my oldest's girlfriend, and her parents would cause sirens to go out. Jessica and I decide to go home because my younger child has made the decision that he would like to spend the night with his older brother. She expresses her gratitude to me for being so kind to her and says, "I don't know what you're going through, baby," when we are driving back to our house. However, I am here for you. When I was about to burst out laughing uncontrollably once more, I had to restrain myself and react by saying, "It is true, all I need is some time." On that particular evening, we engaged in sexual activity for the very first time since the springtime. What the heck, I thought to myself. With what I'm going to do, I might as well get some activity in before I completely remove her from my existence. There was no lovemaking involved, but I won't go into further detail. She was a mass of flesh attempting to figure out the direction of the truck that ran her over when I finished. She was lying there trying to figure out what happened, not even a hug or anything else after that. After taking a shower, I headed straight to my office to get some rest. I just got up. I did, however, use a condom, which caused her perplexity. I accomplished it for the first time in 2 stinking decades. However, she did not inquire about it, despite the fact that she was clearly confused by it. When she knew that she had been doing so with Jerk for several months at that time, she certainly wasn't going to let the knowledge get to her. My handy-dandy spy app is the first thing I check when I wake up the following day, and for the first time in weeks, she has reacted to Jerk. He went all out with Inala. It was clear that he had feelings for her. She stated that she was squandering her time by attempting to reignite a spark that had died within me, that she had been in a prison with me for the past 20 years, and that she deserved to feel the love and affection of a guy who would appreciate her. Take into consideration that this individual is 28 years old. Our oldest son is 5 years older than what we have, and he's that much of a surprise for a married mother of 2 who is 42 years old. AS of the highest possible quality and grade. Is it possible that she made the decision to ruin our marriage and the house that we had constructed for this guy? A handsome young man who has a soft side. Holy cow. She answered by saying something that was much the same as what she had said the last time they spoke. Despite the fact that she loves him and looks forward to spending time with him, she cannot let me go. A portion of her heart will always be reserved for him, despite the fact that I continue to be the love of her life. She mentioned that they can continue to be friends if he so wishes, but that their physical relationship is no longer going to exist. During that week, he urged her to visit him one final time, and she agreed to do so. It was obvious. She responded with a yes. Shouldn't we have one more for the road? I have no right to say anything to her because I was the one who did it to her the night before. The archive that I had compiled was, of course, updated to include all of it. It was on December 4th that the third and last phase of the operation known as Ghost Protocol began functioning. There was a copy of the divorce papers in hand, and there was a new dwelling or residence that I had put up. Now I needed to begin the process of gradually relocating my belongings out of the residence. Prior to doing it, however, I had to deliver the news to my sons. That Friday evening, I invited my older children to come to my house, and I invited them to join me in my office as well as arranged everything over that table. Although I will not go into specifics, I will say that their mother had been unfaithful to me for more than a year, and that I was planning to file for divorce rather soon. Considering that my son, who is 17 years old, had only lately received his first taste of infidelity, he was particularly disturbed by this circumstance. Just 4 months previously, his first girlfriend had cheated on him. That's right. His heart was broken for the second time when he realized that his own mother was capable of doing something like that. This realization affected him hard. My eldest child responded to it in a much more positive manner, and proposed that he take his brother in to live with him until this situation is resolved, which I agreed with. After we had finished packing up some of his belongings, he asked me if I was going to be okay. I responded with, "Yes, son, my situation is going to be fine. You are the same way. Things are going to work out for us, I solemnly swear." After that, they left right away. It was now time to arm the nuclear weapons as the most difficult portion had finally come to an end. Over the course of the subsequent few weeks, Ethan would assist me with going out of the house with some of the things that were the most sensitive to me while Jessica and I were at work. I left him the key and gave him a list of everything that was absolutely necessary to get while we were gone. There was nothing that Jessica would have noticed was missing unless you had specifically informed her that it was gone. In addition, I had acquired a new phone and phone number, and I had communicated my new contact information to all of the people who required it, including Ethan, Oliver, Isabella, my boys, my big sister, and my mother. In the meantime, I am continuing to keep Jessica on the edge of her seat, and she is none the wiser. While she is still in communication with Jerk, she is being showered with small tokens of affection in order to divert her attention away from the tracking device. Although it is not to the same amount as it had been in the past, there is still something emotionally charged taking place. Although it is not too thick, the fog is still present. Throughout the entire process, I am collecting everything, and I do mean everything. I will begin printing off all of the information that I have archived since I began the plan, including call logs, text messages, photographs, and emails, among other things. I must have spent more than $2,000 on essential items, everything from printer ink to paper to binders and everything in between. And in the binders, I arranged everything in chronological order, beginning with the commencement of the affair and ending with the most recent bit, which was on December 17th, 2 weeks ago. There are 14 of them. After that, I placed each one in a box, each one in a gift wrapper, and addressed each one to a different person. This includes my mother. My father passed away 7 years ago, her parents, her 2 sisters, her brother, her human resources department. Did I forget to mention that Jerk works for the same company, and there is a rule against intercompany relationships due to the nature of what she does, several of her friends, Jerk's parents, and Jerk's parents. I had to drag all of those jerks to the post office, and on December 17th, I sent them all out. The estimated time of delivery is between December 22nd and 24th. Absolutely flawless. We are now in the evening of Christmas Eve. I would stop watching Jessica on the app on the 18th, at which point she would have returned home at the regular time. I had no idea if she had seen Jerk. I realized that I had received all of the mileage that I required from it. She takes a shower, hangs out with me for a while, I blow her back out on the couch in the living room. I know, am a jerk, and then she goes to bed. This is the typical routine. Finally, I was able to enter the final part of the job. The nuclear weapon that I had been preparing to deploy since June was ready to be launched. I was awakened in the middle of the night, and wrapped one of the 3 remaining binders with the divorce papers taped to the inside cover. I then placed the binder on my side of the bed, and a message that said Mary Dilanmas was written on it. In close proximity to it, I left my previous phone as well as the business card of my attorney. For the final time, I packed up the remaining goods that were most important to me, which were sufficient to fill 2 bags, and I left the house that I had lived in for the past 20 years. That was exactly 1 week ago, my dear friends. To Jessica, I am utterly disconnected from the outside world. It's gone. This shadow ghosted. Despite the fact that she has blocked me on Facebook, she has not yet blocked me, therefore I am keeping an eye on the consequences of this situation. Absolutely, it is a great thing. My packages have been delivered to all of the recipients that I had sent them to, and Jessica is currently being crucified. On the contrary, her younger sister dressed her down totally. She has been deemed unacceptable by both of her parents. My mother completely and utterly ruined her unbelievably. I am aware that my mother has a tendency to be cruel, but the things that she referred to as Jessica were absolutely unholy. She is making frantic efforts to discover whether or not anyone is aware of my location, but those who are aware of my whereabouts are being silent. All over her Facebook feed, she is frantically attempting to get in touch with me, and am betting that she is aware that I'm probably looking for her. On the other hand, I will not utter a single word to her except in the presence of my attorney. The subsequent time I will share oxygen with her will be at that moment. Due to the fact that I have made her known to everyone who is significant to her, she is unable to manipulate the story in such a way that would portray me as the antagonist. It has been brought to my attention by a common acquaintance who works in the same company as her that she and Jerk are going to be placed on administrative leave beginning tomorrow. So yes, this is confirmed. There is a good likelihood that she will be without a job by the year 2023. Regarding the latter 2 binders, well, in that case, one of them has been handed over to my attorney as the final piece of proof for my upcoming divorce, and the other one has been placed in my storage unit with the intention of being burned in Oliver's fire pit once the divorce is finalized. This makes me feel guilty, doesn't it? No, that is not even close to being true. 20 years ago, I did the right thing by this woman. I provided her with the house that she desired. Her desire for a family was fulfilled by me. Not only did I love her without conditions, but I also offered her the life that I believed we both deserved. Never in my life have I failed. By no means have I deviated. In my entire life, I had never even considered the possibility of breaking my vows. When a problem arose that I believed was having an impact on our marriage, I went to her and told her about it. Together, we worked to resolve the situation as effectively as we could. She made the decision to seek some solace in the bed of another man instead of coming to me and telling me that she was dissatisfied with our sexual life at the time. She made the decision to go out with a young punk who made her feel tingly. Consequently, I do not feel any pity for what I did or for her condition. I don't care if she burns in hell or anyone else. My home, my car, and possibly a couple $100 per month in alimony are the things that I stand to lose the most. However, given that the divorce is being filed under the statute of adultery and San Francisco State is at fault, it is possible that this will be waived due to the overwhelming amount of evidence that I have produced. At this point, she is no longer a part of my life, and I have no intention of ever going back on. My decision. When I moved into my new apartment, the first full day I spent there was on Christmas Day. It is still a work in progress because I have more things that I want to purchase, but in general, I have made it my home because I am going to be here for at least 2 years. For a significant chunk of the day, my lads and the girlfriend of the eldest came over to spend time with me. In addition to preparing a delicious supper, the girlfriend brought over some goodies that she had prepared herself. It was a pleasant experience to be able to sit down and have a conversation with my sons in a manner that I hadn't done in a very long time. In addition, my older sister came over with additional treats, and then stuck out with us as well. She hadn't seen her nephews in about a year, so this was the first time she'd seen them. Having all of them there did me a lot of good because if I had been by myself, I believe that I would have just drunk myself into a stupor. After everyone had left, which was somewhere around 8, I made the decision that I wanted to go hang out with Oliver and his wife, Claudia. After hanging out with them for a couple of hours, followed by having a couple of beers, I returned back to my house. Last week, on December 30th, 2021, the next significant event took place. Isabella sends me a text message around the middle of the day, inquiring as to whether or not I had any plans for that evening. It was obvious that I was not, so we decided to get together after I finished my shift at work. When she arrives, we head to a diner that is located not too far from where I work in San Francisco City. We are able to enjoy indoor dining at a capacity of 25 thanks to the Rona. However, there is generally no difficulty in obtaining seats because a significant number of us choose to reduce the number of times we eat out these days. Consequently, once we have been seated and placed our orders for meals, Isabella places all of her cards on the table, and to tell you the truth, she does so. I had anticipated this happening. When we were both teenagers, she practically admitted that she is similar to me, but she never had the opportunity to tell me about it because Jessica came in and took me away before she could tell me. As a point of reference, I have known Isabella for 2 years longer than Jessica has. In addition to me, Ethan, and Oliver, she has been the 4th member of my social square since high school. We were the social outcasts of the class, children who were involved in raves but did not belong to any of the other cliques. Isabella struggled with her weight and was diagnosed with diabetes at that time. Not a single male would ever give her a second look despite the fact that she was a heavy-set goth chick who was extremely in trend. However, there was always chemistry between us. In the present day, Isabella is working as a yoga instructor and a personal trainer. As far as I can tell, she was the ugly duckling that eventually developed into a swan that was very stunning. To cut a long story short, we came to the conclusion that we are going to begin seeing one another once the divorce proceedings involving me have been finalized. As for me, I did, in fact, spend the night with her. I brought her back to my new place, and we had a wonderful time together. Am I embarrassed by the fact that I slept with her? Oh, no way. Isabella has been a friend to me who is superior to Jessica at any point in time. However, this does not mean that Jessica was not my closest friend. However, over the nearly quarter of a century that I have known Isabella, she has consistently been there for me. The fact that she gladly took a step back from her own sentiments in order to give me the opportunity to pursue Jessica and eventually begin a life with her was one of the most important things I learned that day. This struck a chord with me on a level that I had not anticipated it would strike. That type of selflessness for another person is the essence of what it is to love unconditionally. It's true, at this point it seems as though I am merely trying to convince myself that sleeping with her was the best choice. To me, it was, and I plan on exploring what's to come with Isabella and I with total commitment. Okay, on to yesterday, the day I met my wife and her lawyer to discuss the divorce. It's now been 2 weeks since I ghosted my soon-to-be ex-wife. This past Monday, I got a phone call from my attorney, stating that Jessica's attorney has scheduled a meeting for us to discuss the terms of divorce on January 6, 2023, which was yesterday. I met with him that Tuesday morning to discuss the terms. Long story short, uncontested divorce under the grounds of marital neglect from Jessica. My terms are full division of assets and me selling my half of the house ownership to her. She can have it. We keep our respective vehicles. I keep my cabin in the Rocky Mountains, and under the pretenses of marital neglect, she gets no spousal support from me. As for our 17-year-old, who we'll refer to as Daniel from here on, he's free to choose who he wants to reside with following the divorce, which will most likely be me. So Wednesday comes, and I show up to my lawyer's office dressed in my Lucas-Nikash best. My wife and her lawyer, she looks like she's barely holding it together. I give the stone face. I won't bore you with the lawyer babble, but her lawyer presented an offer for terms of reconciliation. I shot them down almost as soon as she finished listing the details of the request. Like I said, I'll spare you the details of the meeting. Long story short, we agreed to a legal separation leading to an uncontested divorce. The only revision is that I will pay her $700 a month of temporary spousal support to cover the cost of utilities until she's gainfully employed again. Yep, she got fired for jerk. He got canned as well. Up to a year after the finalization, I make enough that it won't hurt me financially, even if she drags her feet finding a new job. And she's got enough in her savings to live off of for quite some time. Once a full calendar year has passed after the finalization date of the divorce, she's on her own. Small price to pay for being rid of her cheating ass. It'll take roughly 3 months for things to go through, so early March, if there's no cock-ups, it'll be free of her. So after the meeting, my lawyer gives me some final words before telling me he'll be in touch to update me on the progress of the filing. Back out on the street, Jessica chases me down and asks, "Can we talk?" I figured I would give her at least that. She held it together fairly well in the meeting, but outside she let the waterworks flow, saying how sorry she was and how she never meant it to go as far as it did. She says she never expected to fall in love with Jerk, but knew when she thought I was cheating how wrong it was to betray her own husband in such a way. She asked if I could ever find it in my heart to forgive her, and that maybe in a few years, could we try to start over, that she can't imagine what her life is going to be without me. I tell her to start imagining it soon because this will be the last time I ever speak to or see her. I tell her that Daniel is almost a man and old enough to make his own choices as to his own future. I say that I gave her half of my life and every ounce of love I had unconditionally, and she, in her own words, fell in love with another man. There is absolutely no chance of me ever forgiving her. All of the love I had for her was slowly killed all of those months that she confided and professed her love to Jerk rather than coming to me and telling me she had any form of issue with how things were going with us. I told her I loved who she once was, but I hate who stands before me, and that if I never see her again, it'll be too soon. There we were on the sidewalk in Midtown Manhattan, her making a scene, crying her eyes out. A couple of folks walk by and give side glances, but at that point, I didn't care. I wasn't about to publicly humiliate her. I pretty much already socially and professionally destroyed her, but I needed to get the last bit of emotion I had for her out. I finished by telling her I didn't regret the 20 years I spent being her husband. I regretted that in 20 years, she decided the easy way out was the better option. And I have your lovely sons of Reddit to thank for this last one, because it popped in my head just seconds before I said it. For 20 years I thought you were mine, but it turned out it was just my turn. I put in my headphones, turned around, and walked away. Later that night, her father calls me and apologizes. He praises me for always being a good man to his daughter, and tells me he's ashamed of her, and that he raised her better than what she did. Not going to lie, I'm going to miss the old man. My dad died years ago, so he's always been my default father figure since. But I can't see myself maintaining a relationship with anyone on her side of the family after that call. I went on Facebook and symbolically changed my relationship status to divorced. Yeah, it's not final yet, but in my eyes, it's over and done. Like I said, when I make a post on Facebook, it's an event, so plenty of folks started hitting me up over Messenger asking questions, and I laid it all out that I filed for divorce with Jessica earlier in the day. Of course, Isabella called me, shocked that I pulled the trigger so fast. Obviously, I was already in the process of it when we spoke, but she had no way of knowing how far along I was. I asked her if she could come over, and of course, she came running. We knocked boots again, but this time she stayed the night. We laid in my bed and talked into the wee hours of the morning, and I haven't felt this level of relief and connection in a really long time. Isabella gets me, and I can't get enough of being around her. Since the day she confided in me, she's all that's been on my mind. Yeah, I know some folks are going to say it's messed up that I'm moving on so fast, but as far as I'm concerned, my marriage ended the day Jerk let Jessica touch his pecker, so I'm about done. So yeah, that's it. That's the end. My divorce is in the works, and I'm moving on to start a relationship with Isabella. I know in a comment response to someone I said I would probably not marry ever again, but that was before Isabella came clean to me about how she felt towards me, and I can't deny that I feel the same. We're going to take it slow, and we're not announcing anything until the divorce with Jessica is legal and official. As for Jessica, I couldn't care less what happens to her. She could move Jerk into our old home for all I care. They'll be getting my money for the house over the course of 2023, for quarterly installments, and aside from the $700 I will pay out directly to her savings account monthly, I never have to see or speak to her again. To all the words of support, encouragement, and praise, I eternally thank you all. Fooled my soon-to-be ex-wife into thinking I was cheating for 4 months while she was having a year-long affair with a younger man. Executed a plan to destroy her life during the process, culminating with ghosting her and serving her divorce papers as she slept. Over the next few days, watched her life upended while completely off the grid from her. Divorce hearing was last week, settled on full separation leading to an uncontested divorce. Last night she tried to kill herself by overdosing on pills. Now everyone within her circle who ostracized her for cheating on me is flocking to her for support, and are actually mad at me for not doing the same. But my soon-to-be ex-wife of 20 years just tried to kill herself last night. The hits just keep on coming. I've been sitting on this for hours now, didn't know where to post this, so this sub seemed appropriate. If you want a bit of backstory, check my post history for the details. I'm not keen on how linking to other subs here works, but my previous 2 entries are viewable in my profile. The quick version is this: I discovered my wife of 20 years, 42F, was having an affair with a 28-year-old coworker. We have 2 sons, 22 and 17. I concocted a plan to completely upend her life centered around fooling her into thinking I was having an affair myself. I kept the ruse going for over 4.5 months while compiling evidence of her infidelity, as well as securing divorce papers and planning my exit strategy, slowly moving my personal belongings from our home to a new apartment, getting a new phone and number, separating my half of our shared income from our joint account, etc. On December 17, 2021, I gathered every bit of proof of her affair I would compiled, printed it all out from start to that week, filed it all into 14 binders, packed 11 into gift-wrapped boxes, and mailed them all out to the most important people in her life as well as her HR department with an ETA between December 22nd and 24th. On Christmas Eve, while she slept, I took one of the remaining 3 binders and did the same. Only this one, I taped the divorce notice to the inside cover and left it on my side of the bed, which, mind you, Shed had her lover in a number of times, along with my old phone and my lawyer's business card, and ghosted her. Over the next few days, her life completely imploded. Her family pretty much excommunicated her, her friends, the ones who didn't know of the affair, ostracized her, and my own mother took her to task, calling her the most scathing and vile things you could possibly think of. She and her lover were also placed on administrative leave and eventually fired. Last week, we had our divorce hearing and settled on a legal separation into uncontested divorce with a few provisions in place for transitional incomes since she's now unemployed. To pay out the price for the utilities, $700 a month, until either she finds gainful employment or up to 1 year after the date of the divorce finalization, which is expected to be 3 months from now. She keeps the house, her car, and her half of the shared assets. I keep my half of the assets, my vehicle's car, motorcycle, and boat, and my vacation property cabin in the Rocky Mountains. After the hearing, we had one final exchange where she tried to explain away her infidelity and begged me to give her a second chance after the divorce is finalized. I, of course, said no, gave her some choice words, and walked away from her forever. This brings us to last night. As only my closest friends, 2 sons, older sister, and mother have my new contact info, and I've completely blocked my soon-to-be ex-wife on all social outlets. She has had no means of reaching me since I left her on Christmas Eve. But some of our mutual friends still do. Last night, I'm hanging out in my apartment, and I get a voice call notification on Messenger from one of said friends, one of the few who hadn't abandoned her following me outing her affair. She didn't waste any time when I answered and said she had went to check on Jessica, the soon-to-be ex-wife, and found her passed out in the bedroom, foaming at the mouth with 2 bottles of empty pills next to her. She's in the ICU in critical but stable condition. The doctor said that she will likely pull through. She's clearly not going to be well after. She begged and pleaded for me to come. Her parents and 2 of her sisters were also there at the hospital. My guess is they were notified after the hospital attempted to notify me, but Jessica would still have my old number as her emergency contact. I simply told her no. Jessica is not my problem anymore, and she clearly decided she wanted to take the easy way out rather than deal with the shame and agony of the 20-year marriage she blew up. I then told her friend that if Jessica's family were there, they can help her sort out the pieces, but as far as Jessica and I are concerned, there is no Jessica and I anymore. I then ended the call. I've had a few hours to sleep on it, and my sons called me this morning asking if I knew. I told them yes, but I also let both of them know that if they want to be there and supportive of their mother, I will not hold it against them or judge them for it. She is their mother after all, but I myself wash my hands of her and care little to nothing about what she does for or to herself anymore. They were both a little taken aback by this but respected my stance. However, now that the news has broken about her suicide attempt, many of those friends who dropped her are all starting to surface again and saying I need to be there for her, that even despite what she did to me, I need to support her in her time of need. I've also been informed that her AP affair partner tried to visit her this morning but wasn't allowed because he's not family. I'm getting dogpiled on to go see her, but I feel nothing for this woman anymore. I haven't for a very long time. I checked out during the process of getting my pay back for her betrayal, and I stand by the fact that I don't care at all for what she's done. In fact, it makes me hate her even more. She's the one who was unfaithful. She's the one who thought a near-year-long fling with a guy 5 years older than her oldest son was worth destroying 20 years. And now that she has to face the consequences of her choices, she chooses the most selfish way of dealing with it. Even now, seeing as she's in all likelihood going to survive, she's cultivated immediate sympathy from everyone who took her to task, and am being made out to look like the jaded ex-husband unwilling to sympathize with her by most. Her family, not her dad, he's reached out to me over the last few hours and said he respects my decision to stay away. It's like I never even truly knew this woman. 20 years, and it comes to this. Yes, I know the way I broke things off with her may have put her in a poor mental state, but now a whole new can of worms has been opened up because either she had a complete mental breakdown and decided to end herself, or she made an extremely risky and calculated move to call favor back from people who just weeks prior condemned her for betraying me. She cheated on me, and now she's the victim. Sorry if this comes off as rantish, but I'm here trying to wrap my brain around this. I want to be perfectly clear. I am not going to visit Jessica. She waived her right to me caring about her well-being the day she let Jerk, my personal nickname for her lover, put his dick inside her. This might come off as heartless because despite the cool, calm, collected way I've been throughout my whole ordeal, my feelings are still very much raw. But I don't give a damn about this woman. Haven't for a very long time. Am aware I'm going to be vilified by a number of folks here. I don't much care. Think of me however you want. If you were in my shoes, you'd see her actions vastly different. Some of you folks are going to go look up my post history and see the story of what I did to her, and you're going to draw the conclusion that her suicide attempt was my fault, that me tormenting her for all of those months, fooling her into thinking I was cheating on her while she actively cheated on me, then destroying her socially and professionally as a result, was the catalyst for her meltdown. April it was. April, I am a heartless sociopath, but as Arthur Fleck so famously said, you get what you deserve. I gave this woman half of my life and did absolutely everything to be the best possible husband she could ever have. By her own admission, I had no bearing in her decision to step outside of our marriage. She did it for her. Her selfishness knows no bounds, and I am glad to be rid of her. If it makes me the bad guy because I will not go see her and never plan on interacting with her ever again, so be it. I hold true to my damn convictions. She made the choice to betray me. She made the choice to put her needs above the needs of our marriage. So now it's my turn to choose me over everything else. She can rot in the darkest pit of hell for all I care. Let everyone else help her fix her. My responsibility to ever be concerned about her health and well-being came to an end on the day that we signed the separation agreement. Getting this off my chest was the only thing I needed to do. If you are going to judge me for feeling the way that I do, you should save your judgment for yourself. In spite of the fact that I have been married to this woman for 20 years and have 2 children, I have never really known her. Nothing about her makes me feel sorry for her, and I never will. You should just let her rot. Jessica's father has informed me that she has been transferred from the intensive care unit to the mental health department of the hospital. Still, the doctors are keeping a close eye on her mental health. Her consciousness and cognitive abilities have returned, but she is visibly lethargic. When I asked her father whether I would come to see her, he responded with a negative response, and after that, she became very quiet. Due to the fact that he is aware of the mental state I am in, he politely stated that he will only share any additional news with me if I inquire about it. Additionally, I reserved therapy for the number 17 on the following Monday. We will have our first consultation. Last but not least, farewell. Jessica formally became my ex-wife on March 13th, which took place exactly 1 month ago. My attorney had previously informed me that it would be finalized on the 18th, but it was pushed to a few days sooner than that. This was partially owing to the fact that things in San Francisco City are beginning to open up as a result of the reduction in the number of COVID-19 cases. On March 12th, my attorney, Jeff, called me and asked me to come see him the following day. He requested that I come see him. When I did, he shook my hand and handed me the notice that the finalization had been completed. It was impossible for me to just leave it at that, so I walked inside, gave him a hug, and expressed my gratitude for everything he had done for me. I was unable to do anything but play mental movies of everything that happened while I was on my way home. The final 20 years of my life. For each and every one of the memories, the entirety of the past. After what seemed like an eternity, it occurred when I entered my flat. As soon as I put my feet on the ground, every single feeling that had been bottled up inside of me began to flow out. I haven't shed tears like that in a very long time. However, it was not a tearful weep in no way, shape, or form. I had the sensation that my soul had been released from the most profound and gloomiest hole that it had been imprisoned in. On that particular evening, I called number 22 on the phone. My response was succinct and to the point, stating that the agreement has been finalized and that his mother and I are no longer married as of that day. I assured him that I was okay when he asked how I was feeling, possibly because he could hear from the sound of my voice that I had been sobbing. Daniel was the next person to go on the phone, and we talked for close to 90 minutes. My eldest and his girlfriend have been doing an excellent job of taking care of him, and he is still going to treatment just like I am. I won't get into specifics about what we discussed, but I will say that there is still a great deal of work to be done, particularly with regard to his perspective on different types of relationships. Later that evening, Isabella came to see me as she normally does, and it goes without saying that I informed her of the situation. She simply placed her arms around my waist and gripped as tightly as she could, and sure, I cried once again. When I was finally able to regain my composure, Isabella assured me that she would never betray me and that she loves me with all of her heart regardless of the circumstances. And I am certain that each and every one of those words is accurate. It's possible that I'll get some criticism for saying this, but I don't regret the life I've built with Jessica, and despite everything, she did end up endowing me with 2 powerful kids. Now, however, it is abundantly evident to me that I chose the incorrect woman. During the past 4.5 months, Isabella has been extremely generous and has not asked for anything in return. All she expects of me is to be there for her when she needs me. Despite the fact that I don't want to go on and on about her for too long, she is certainly my hero. In addition, there are a few additional fascinating occurrences that took place after the divorce was finalized. As an illustration, Jerk made an effort to get in touch with me. Indeed, he did. In fact, he sent me a message on this very platform, Reddit. Apparently, he was the one who witnessed the tale when it became viral on YouTube, and he immediately realized that it was him. No, before anyone asks about it, it is not going to be necessary for me to disclose his username on Reddit. I feel that I have caused the child sufficient suffering. First and foremost, he expressed his regret for the role he had played in all of this. He provided me with a summary of the outcomes of the binder that I had sent to his mother before I sent it. In essence, he has been cut off from every member of his family. The fact that his mother is a devoted Catholic woman was something I discovered as I was making plans for my vengeance, the type of devoutness that is nomine patris, et filii, et spiritus sancti, and attends church 3 times a week. As a result, her perspectives on marriage are extremely sacred, and the news that her son had recently ended a marriage that had lasted for almost a quarter of a century caused her to become extremely angry. Immediately after that, she fired him, and within a week, when his company received the binder that I had supplied to them, he was also terminated from his position. In the time since then, he has been looking for a new career and has been couch surfing. He stated that he wanted to contact me on social media, all of the places he had blocked me when he was banging Jessica, but he admitted that he was hesitant to do so because, in his words, if I was able to find him before, I could find him again. I freely admit that I had the ability to completely destroy this child, but I chose not to do so. When I asked him when he had seen Jessica most recently, he responded that it had been several months since he had last seen her. Jessica advised him to put her out of his mind and go on with his life. During the most recent conversation he had ever had with her, this is something that Jessica said to me during our most recent conversation. So at the very least, she wasn't lying about it. When I asked the child a couple more questions, he or she responded in a pleasant and unexpected manner. Given the havoc that he had brought upon himself, I suppose he was searching for some type of punishment for his actions. Much of what he said was similar to information that I had gained from the documentation that I had gathered from texts. Rather than doing much in the way of responding, I simply asked and he responded. About 20 minutes into the conversation, he expressed his regret once more, and it was at that moment that I confronted him with the following. This is a copy and paste from the conversation. You are a man who is 28 years old, and for the rest of your life, you will have to deal with the knowledge that your own mother despises you for ending a marriage that lasted for almost as long as you have been alive. Karma is eating away at you, and I am aware that you have messaged me because of it. Nonetheless, I will not give you closure. I was 27 years old when I began to construct a legacy. You are currently a homewrecker who is without a job and homeless. This lesson will teach you anything if you are a smart person. In the event that you are not, you will continue to be a screw-up until you reach my age, assuming you go that far. I would like to wish you luck, but you should know that you don't need luck. You need to get your crap together. The conversation was terminated, and I blocked him as a result. It is evident that this is not the kind of resolution that he was seeking, and I could have been a great deal more aggressive, but I believe that those comments will be enough to haunt him as they are. On April 4th, 2023, the next significant event is going to take place. She is now known as Isabella or Defog. For the past 2 months, we have engaged in extensive conversation regarding the direction that we would like things to take between us. Clearly, Isabella has made it plainly clear that she has no intention of ever being with anybody other than me, and she is interested in having my name as her own. She is interested in marrying me and wants me to adopt her kid, whom we will refer to as Grace, as my own. For the time being, it is no secret that I have a deep and abiding affection for this youngster. She is now 6 years old. Her birthday was a month ago, and she looks up to me as a role model. I am the first father figure she has had since her biological father abandoned her and her siblings when she was 4 years old. Isabella has made it a habit to not include any of the men she has been associated with since her divorce in Grace's life unless they have the ability to remain in her life. It goes without saying that I have the ability to persevere and that I have expertise in parenting. To continue with the previous point, Grace and Daniel are like 2 peas in a pod. Both spectacular and charming is the relationship that exists between them as big bro and little sister. Grace is overjoyed by the fact that Daniel has become so attached to her. I had a conversation with my therapist about it, and he told me that it is most certainly a positive indication. Despite the fact that his own innocence has been broken, Daniel sees in Grace the innocence that he desperately wants to safeguard. So on Monday of last week, we made the decision to go to the municipal hall and pull the trigger. The marriage license was obtained in a span of 24 hours, and the reveal was the most unremarkable revelation that has ever been conceived of. It was mentioned by Ethan that as if no one didn't see this coming, and Big Sis stated that she was now placing bets on when the now expecting post goes through. During all of these months, we believed that we were successfully concealing the fact that we were in a relationship with each other. However, everybody has already figured it out exactly. It was pretty hilarious, didn't it? A number of individuals are going to argue that it was too soon. It is true that I have stated in previous comments that I will never get married again, but this was all before the genuine dynamic that exists between Isabella and me became apparent. I have been told by this woman that she loves me without conditions and without exception. She has been crying as she has been lying in my arms, and she has expressed how excited she is, as well as how she never in a million years dreamed that she would ever have the opportunity to be with me. She has gone into excruciating detail about how she has felt about me over the previous quarter of a century, including how she grieved the idea that Jessica won even while she was married. And to tell you the truth, I had no idea how far down that rabbit hole had gone. She even went so far as to explain that there were moments when she herself had thoughts of having an affair with me popped into her head, but she could never be that sort of person. She said that she could never be anything like that. In spite of this, she has been so generous to me over the course of all the years that I have known her, and she has asked for very little in return. The degree of affection that Isabella has shown to me is unmatched by any other lady, even the woman I married and with whom I also had 2 children. I would be a fool if I did not reveal my name to her. Therefore, she is now in possession of it. We are currently in the first stages of the paperwork for my adoption of Grace. Finally, there is Jessica to consider. I have not communicated with her since the last time I went to the house we shared as a married couple, which was approximately 4 months ago. Nevertheless, my mutual friends, who are the ones that are still there, do email me updates on a regular basis. As a result of one of those friends, a real estate agent, the fact that she sold the house and that he offered her a position as a clerical assistant in his company is something that I am aware of. In addition, he eliminated the assistance payments that I had to compensate her for because she was unemployed. She is currently residing in a modest apartment that is located in close proximity to his office, which he also assisted her in establishing. She is able to function, but she is only a shell of the woman she used to be. Her weight has barely increased, and she prefers to remain to herself. The fact that she comes in, does her work, and does not interact with anyone else save him is probably due to the fact that she has been interacting with individuals from her place of employment, which is where this whole affair began. When I received the most recent report on her, which was at the end of March, I thanked him for keeping an eye out for her, but I also informed him that I do not require any further information. There is no longer any issue with her. Due to the fact that some of our mutual friends who are still alive have made comments about Isabella and me, I am almost positive that she is aware of our relationship. There is no need for me to ever speak to her again, and I will not do so because Daniel is only 1 year away from becoming an adult under the law. With that, we are done. I have finally reached the end of my journey through mental anguish, betrayal, and attempts at suicide. In the end, I will be fading back into the swamp to live with my new frog bride and her tiny tadpole. I will take inquiries and possibly a few comments, but ultimately, after this, I will be leaving. Sincerely, I would want to express my gratitude to the literally hundreds of individuals who have provided me with guidance, best wishes, and praise during this entire process. This experience has both humbled and blessed me because it has allowed me to tell my story and assist others who are going through the hardship of infidelity. I want to express my affection to all of the new acquaintances that I made through the use of Reddit. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that I would come across such beautiful people in a location where, to be honest, not so good items can be exchanged. Reddit, make sure to maintain it formal and green at all times. My ex-wife is now known as Jessica. The new woman in my life is Isabella. Isabella's little one is going to be adopted by me, and we are going to have a child together. Isabella's little sister, who is 17 years old, has developed a close relationship with her. After my tale became viral on YouTube, Jerk reached out to me, but I did not provide him with any closure. At this point in my life, it is time for me to begin the next chapter. There are a few specifics that I decided not to share in my initial essay. However, looking back, I see that I should have given them because they provide a more realistic picture of the origin of my poison. Despite the fact that I was really hurt, she confided in me about her sentiments and energy toward him, which she denied the existence of. Her disclosure to him included private and personal information about me that was intended to be known only by her and her alone. In addition to expressing her affection for him, she stated that she desired to assist him in realizing his full potential, and that if only you had been born 15 years earlier is a phrase that I quote. In addition to sacrificing my life, this woman deceived me on the most profound degree of treachery that could possibly exist. In point of fact, this level of betrayal extends beyond the suicide of your significant other. Everything that I did to her was completely appropriate, warranted, and justified. By intentionally, involuntarily choosing to breach her vows, she gave herself emotionally and physically to this stain while at the same time breaking the sanctity of the secrets that I have shared with her over the course of nearly a quarter of a century. Are you seriously of the opinion that a level of treachery of this magnitude merits compassion? To love and to hate to the fullest extent possible is inherent in my nature. When I love someone, I will literally give my life for them. I will go above and beyond to cherish and nurture that love. Conversely, when someone has earned my ire, I am the absolute worst enemy they will ever have and will equally go out of my way to see that person done low. Forgiveness is a luxury she will never be granted by me, ever. It is not going to happen. If she made another attempt at her life and succeeded, I would not shed a tear. If that makes me a deplorable, hateful monster, I'll wear that hat. Although the above story is an old story, it is still in the top 10 best stories for me. Going through the story of how betrayal in a relationship was found and what happened next leaves me feeling a lot. The careful way payback was planned and done, ending in a big and public mess in someone's life, hits deep. It shows the deep hurt and betrayal felt by someone who thought they were in a true partnership. While the hurt and wish for revenge are easy to get, the lengths gone to for revenge make you think about how revenge affects a person's health and moral stance. The story, with its detailed planning and the big harm done to everyone, not just those in the relationship but their families and work lives too, shows a big loss, not just of the relationship but of trust and respect. What comes after, with one person being very alone and facing serious mental health problems, shows a sad loop of pain that goes beyond just those two people. It's a strong reminder of the messy, strong feelings at play when someone is betrayed and how seeking revenge can destroy. This story also shows how hard it is to start over and the tough path to learning about oneself and finding strength again. It makes you feel for everyone caught in such hard times, no matter what they did. That was intense. What would you have done in this situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.